Well, good morning. It's 8:40. We're live on KZIM, KSIM, and we are pleased to bring in a bigwig in the Republican Party. Dr. Jean Howard Hill is the chairwoman of the National African American Republican Caucus. She's also a well-known author, a lecturer. She's a professor at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga and known as Lady J, I guess. Good morning to you, Jean, and welcome to Cape Girardeau.
Good morning, and thank you so very much for having me.
That's a mouthful. You've done it all in your life, you know?
I don't know. Still have a long ways to go. You know, I'm 39, so I still have my life before me.
39? I wouldn't have guessed.
Oh, no, I know you wouldn't have.
We're all 39. Actually, I just turned 29 a long time ago. We're in holding steady, right?
Holding, yes.
Very
holding.
Nice. It's a pleasure to have you in Cape, and thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. And for those that don't know, Dr. Jean Howard Hill is in town this weekend for the annual Cape County Republican Party Lincoln Days tomorrow night at Plaza by Rays, of course, headlined by Rick Santorum, the Republican candidate for president. And Dr. Howard Hill will also speak today at a noon event at Dexter Barbecue in Cape Girardeau. Jean, I know you'll deliver the prayer tomorrow night. What are you praying about? What's the message these days?
Well, I think the message really is unity and healing for America. There are a lot of people that are hurting across the country. Small businesses are failing, and people are just concerned about the temperature of America. We just seem to be hot about everything. And I think people are looking for a milder America because we have so much. We're so blessed in America with so many things. And I think it's time for us to come and sit at the table and just be civil and have some conversations that will bring healing and bring America back to where it should be.
Everybody's so tense these days.
Yes,
There's this knee-jerk reaction to everything, isn't it?
Yes, and I really believe that if we would just stop for a moment and just chill out for a second and start looking for some guidance, because certainly we don't have it. If we had it, then we would have all the problems fixed. And even though we're not going to ever have a world where there are no problems, but certainly we can seek divine wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from a God who does know what to do. And I think that's what we really need to do.
Well, for the record, you're also a candidate for the 3rd Congressional District in Tennessee. And why do you want to go to Washington? It's a mess these days. Why would you want to be there?
Well, I tell you, when you have taught American government, you understand the process. I love the process. America has one of the most unique processes of government of any country in the entire world. And when you really understand that process, and you understand that if you send people there who understand the process and are willing to work within that process, you're going to get the results of good government. The problem is that we have abused and misused that process, and we haven't fully understood it. And so I want to go simply because I think at this point in my life that, first of all, I'm a servant. So let me just backtrack for a second. And you got to love people. You've got to love America, and you have to genuinely love people. You have to even love those people that you don't necessarily like, but you still got to love them.
Got to get along.
And you got to be able to bring people together and say, okay, we may not all agree, but what are some of those common things that we can agree upon? And then you take and you move from those common things to other things, and you will find, and letting people know that it is okay to disagree, but we're going to do it in such a way that when we leave the table, we can still be friends, and we don't have to do it in such an ugly way. And I think that's what's necessary in Washington, and that's why we have all this gridlock, simply because we can't get things done. The people are hurting simply because we can't get along with each other. And so I think that there's going to take a kind of maturity. There's going to take a kind of I call it a woman spirit, you know, and I'm proclaiming 2012 as the hour of the woman anyway, particularly the GOP woman. And I think there's nothing wrong with men, but men about, you know, it's like Tennessee-Alabama game. I'm from Tennessee.
We draw lines in the sand, don't
it's
we?
no such thing as, okay, both teams, you won. No, men are like, I won, you lost. But women are more like quilt makers. They will come in and say, I have my piece, let's stitch it on together. And when you finish, there's this beautiful quilt. And because there are so few women in Congress, I think that America is missing something. You know, we need some women there to put some boys in timeout.
Do you agree with term limits? Should there be term limits in Washington?
You know,
Fresh
I
faces.
believe that yes, there should be fresh faces. But I believe that when you start legislating term limitations, what you've done is that you have taken some of that power from the people. And people, I'm teaching people, you are the term limiters. And if you don't like somebody, get them out. And so don't put that on Congress. You do it. And if we do that, then I think we've taken a very important part of government away from us. We've taken a part of power away from us. And that power is to go in, and we're so inflamed and outraged by something that is going on, you don't go back. And in my district, I'm telling people, send me one time, check me out, and if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, send me home, And in fact, that's the way it should be. So term limitations, I think that those are controlled by the people, and I really believe that it should remain in the hands of people. But I do understand the argument on the other side, because when you have such a small percentage of people that are going to the polls, and those same people keep voting the same people in, well, it's still people's problem. Get to the polls and vote.
Well said. Have you been a Republican all your life?
Yes, just about. And the reason why I say yes, because if I do the math and I tell you how long I've been a Republican, it doesn't add up.
All 39 years.
Well, I've been a Republican for 33 years, so that means I came into the Republican Party when I was 6 years old. But leaving college, I was a Democrat, and in the 70s, oh, my goodness, we don't want to do numbers. But anyway, there was a certain time in my life when I decided that I was going to be a Republican, and that was 33 years ago. And I simply did that because I researched the ideology of the Republican Party, and I was okay with it. Those 11 core values. I'm talking about the 11 original core values, not all of the other stuff that sort of has just sort of come into the party. And I believed in economic empowerment. I believed in a strong defense. I believed in civil rights for all people. I believed that government should only do what people cannot do. I believed in accountability, all those kinds of things. And so I'm very comfortable being a Republican. I don't see myself being anything else other than a Republican. And certainly at this juncture in my life, I wouldn't be in the party if I did not truly believe in, and I say, the core values of the party.
Why are a lot of African Americans turned off by the Republicans?
Well, I think it's because the Republican Party really is not the same Republican Party. Remember now, the Republican Party came out of abolitionists, slaves, people who really felt that things in America were not right. And so what we're seeing now, I'm seeing a lot of Republicans, particularly those that are in their 80s and their 70s, and they're looking really, really saddened that the party is not the party that it used to be. And but I have hope. And I have belief, and I know that there's some really good Republicans out there who are feeling the same way and feeling that we are the party of promise. We're the party of hope. And I like that last core value that says that we're the party of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But if we stick with those core values, and I think that the Republican Party does have the right message if it can just stay on message.
Well said. What's the role of the African American Republican Caucus? For people that don't know, what do you guys do?
Well, we started this organization some years ago, back in 1987. I was in charge of the National Black Republican Women, and my husband was in charge of the National Black Republican Men for Change. My husband passed away unexpectedly in 1991, and from that, years after that, we combined the two organizations to form the National Republican African American Caucus. And the reason for this is because we wanted to bring African Americans back to the table, to the Republican table. And I do not just wearing the label, but at the table, so that we have an input in policy, we have an input in how the party actually is structured, and wanting to come back to that place where our birthplace. And for reasons that are important to America, and that is that when you bring in all Americans and you sit them down at the table, you have America. And so that was our reason. And also, the uniqueness of our organization is that 76% of our organization are ministers. Pastors are people that are in spiritual leadership. And I was looking the other day, and it's about 97% that are actually in some form of ministry. And so we felt that there needed to be a separation of church and state, because we certainly don't want state coming in telling us what we should do in terms of the church, but we felt that there was a need for people of faith, which is much different than religion. People of faith getting into the process and actually saying, this is right, that's wrong, and standing for values rather than party. Because I think that at the end of the day, we're more responsible for the position we take on issues as God would want us to, rather than a party. And so our organization is committed to asking for that divine wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. How do we make America better? How do we make this a country where that we can look forward to our children having and inheriting a piece of that pie and a part of that American dream?
Very well said. Dr. Jean Howard Hill is our guest. She's the chair of the National African American Republican Caucus. She's in town for Lincoln Days this weekend with the Cape County Republican Party. What do you make of this presidential race? It's
interesting. It's interesting. You know, I'm not in the classroom right now, but I keep thinking, oh, if I was there, because usually during the elections I have the mock elections across campus and all those kinds of good things. But this is just interesting. But the one thing I will say about this race, it certainly shows that America is at a place where people are more than just disgruntled. They are basically looking at Americans saying something needs to change. Mm-hmm. But in our Republican race, I find that really interesting too, that we have 4 candidates that are still just sort of hanging on. And of course, I don't take positions on any of the candidates. I wish all of them well, and I'm rooting for all of them. And I'm rooting for them to stay on message. It's the economy. It's the economy. It's the economy.
What is it?
It's the economy. It's the economy. When we're looking at college graduates who are coming out and not able to get jobs. I know kids who are graduated from law school and are working in places that you would say, well, oh, why are you working there? Got to save up money to pass the bar. And even after I pass the bar, I'm not sure if I'm going to get a job. Small businesses are failing. And if they're not failing, people are saying, I'm barely holding on. And some people are doing well. And so we've got to have something, we've got to have a message that brings us back on track, where we're accountable, where we're fiscally responsible, and that where we're not spending without accountability. And whomever that is, the person who can bring that message and get us back on track, that's who the president is going to be.
Has Barack Obama been a failure in your mind?
I'm not going to say that he was a failure, simply because when you're president, you have a tall order to fulfill. And I said the same thing about President Bush. You know, I'm not in their shoes. And so it's easy for someone to stand on the outside and say, you shoulda, woulda, whatever. But I pray for the president. I don't care who it is that's in office. I pray for that president, whether that's a Democrat or Republican. And my prayer daily is, God, give them the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and then also give them something inside of them that will allow you to give them that message of recovery and what to do. And certainly I believe that of our 4 presidential candidates, I'm hoping that when they do go to the White House, that they will be concerned with what people are thinking and what people want America to do in the direction, and to get us back to a place where that we are more stable a country, because certainly we don't want to be, even in the international community, we're losing some of our value even within the international community. And so that concerns me as well.
We're speaking with Dr. Jean Howard Hill. We only have a couple minutes. Where's this country going, Jean? Regardless of what November unfolds, where are we headed?
I believe in America, and I believe that America is not going to meet its demise, not right now. And I believe there are too many good people that are going to rise up 2012 and say enough is enough. I'm here for service, and I want to see it be a better America. And so I'm optimistic, and I believe in America, and I believe that this is a country that was birthed with purpose, and that purpose is going to be fulfilled.
Well said. We'll see you today, 12 o'clock, Dexter Barbecue in Cape Girardeau, and tomorrow night, sold out performance. I knew there were Secret Service here for a reason, Dr.
It's
Hill.
for me. It's for me. You didn't know that. It's for me. Of course it's for me.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet you, and we wish you the best of luck with your campaign and look forward to your talks this weekend. Thanks, and welcome to Cape Girardeau.
Thank you so much, and I'm so very pleased to be here and to be here with you.
Thanks again. Dr. Jean Howard Hill, our guest this morning on KZIM KSIM. It's 8:55. We'll wrap it up coming up after this timeout.